Welcome to Free Range. Scott Lemriel reveals the deliberately hidden truth and the way for others to recover it with knowing certainty by their own direct awakening experiences. To be effective, revealing hidden truth must also involve assisting others, with friends from very far out of town, to recover who they are and all they once knew before it was taken from them. Here is your host, Gail of Gaia, with her guest, Scott Lemriel.
That last journey that we did as a group was awesome.
Yeah, and then I'm surprised how deep and how long, 3 hours in a hotel Zoom thing with about 20 people, I suppose. And one girl asked me, well, how do we know you're telling us the truth? And what do we do? And I said, well, you're never going to get that from data from anybody outside that tells you this is truth or that's truth, because you're just listening to other people's statements. You're going to have to know it by direct experience, and I'm here to help you acquire those direct experiences. I'm not here to experience it for you, because that's my experience. Exactly. You're just going to have to get it, because there's no way to.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
If you think you're going to get on the internet and find truth and know it for sure, whether it's right or not, you won't. I mean, it might be right, but then how do you know it is until you experience it for yourself? Exactly. That's the difference, You got to have your own experience. Faith leaves a person in belief only, and then they die in belief with a certain amount of doubt. I don't care how strong a dedicated Christian they are, or Muslim, or Buddhist, or Hindu, or whatever they are. They're still going to leave this life with some uncertainty and doubt about what they believe in, because they don't have any experience with it.
Exactly.
And all their fears and doubts from other lives they brought into this life unconsciously also affect what they do when they leave this life. That's why they end up here seeking security in the illusion of a physical body. And then they get back in a baby's body, they don't remember nothing, and then they try to find the answers all over again. What a joke that is.
A vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Vicious.
So on that show, they went all the way to the Hugh Expansionary Academy. I wanted to get them at least. They met Satnam. He passed, Zahn just gave us permission to go through that territory. And then one guy asked me, can we go back to the Hugh Expansionary Academy when we want to now? I said, well, you can now, because you've met someone who's given you permission to go above his realm to it, and you can go back there. But I would recommend you go back with someone is a guide that knows the terrain, the territory. Myself or Torellian or Ramu or Opelum or any of these people from the Galactic Alliance that can get there, that can help you understand how to deal with the lower dimensions, because they know much more about how to do that properly. And a lot of them are becoming aware of the higher worlds above the void, but they know how to deal with the material universe very well, astral, causal, mental. So these are people that can really provide a great boon or benefit to people if they ask for their assistance when it's offered. So 100 of these Galactic Alliance people, men and women, approached each person from that hotel conference and offered their assistance. And it's up to each of you if you want to accept it. Because all of you, whoever's approached you, you will find out in time that they are very familiar to you and you knew them before. Stuff like that. So, it went very well.
It's awesome. That's wonderful.
But it was longer than I like. 3 hours.
That is long, but having that go through that interpretation thing is really
anyway. Yeah, and I always wonder how long I'm going to be doing these shows and this kind of thing and all these private sessions. For now, we're doing them. Until it evolves to something else or gets into a better situation.
Well, that's why we have the recording. I listen to the ones we've done in the past in order to be able to have the experience and not be any more Buddhism.
Can you get a little closer to your computer?
Yes.
Just scoot your chair up a bit.
Wow.
Now talk with me.
Okay.
Don't lean right forward into it. Just stay back in your chair, right about there.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Because otherwise I could turn it up more.
No, it's fine. I just want people to be able to hear you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Starlight's lying on the floor, just put his head down, so he's going to go bye-bye. He wants to be on the floor today.
Oh. Doesn't want to be on the chair, huh? Yeah. Oh, he's a sweetheart.
Where is he? I can't quite see his head. There it is.
There it is.
He's out now, so he can come up here
Yeah,
if he
he looks,
wants.
yeah, he looks comfy.
He's going to join us. He was outside. He didn't join anybody on the 3-hour journey. He was gone, but he wasn't on the chair for that one. Too long for him, I guess.
That's a long time.
It is, yeah. 7 to 10:05 or something like that. Time we got off. Perry Farn laughed. She says, "We gotta go. This is over at the hotel." So they got a lot more than they expected to get out of that one.
That's good. It'll
I mean,
come
let's
back.
face it, they're handicapped in one way. I told them, if you accept help from these people when you're out of your bodies at night, they can assist you by speaking to you in fluent Thai. You won't be limited, but you've got to make the choice to do it.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure they will because they wouldn't be there if they weren't interested.
You know, and then I brought up that Perry also has read in English and knows what's in the books. And she can help those people when they ask her questions about the books, what's in them, or techniques, because they can't read English. They have the books signed to them. They can't read them. So they can put them by their bed at night and ask to be shown deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale, and the much greater knowing of expansive love within it. They can do that. But each person has to get over their fear of the unknown, fear of getting out of their body and all of that. They've got to get so fed up at some point with all this nonsense that they're willing to take a leap into the unknown and go out and do some things and find out that it's safe territory. They're not going to know it's safe until they do it. And some of them are, and others are doing part of it. One woman said, "Well, you know, I don't see anything when we go on these journeys." And I questioned her. I said, "Well, can you tell me? Can you see a cat? And you know what cat looks like. Just pick a cat. Imagine a cat." She says, "Yeah, I can imagine a cat." "Can you imagine a waterfall?" "Sure." Then later, she after I said, "You see, you can imagine things. It's the same thing when you're out of your body. But you got to understand that when you're imagining something, it's not being done in your brain. The Atma is what's seeing that, whatever that is." And then later she says, "Well, I did see this woman, this statue on this pedestal in Lemuria." I said, "Well, see, but I couldn't see it very clearly." I said, "Well, if you're thinking you're going to see it like you see things with your physical eyes, that's just you on Earth trying to see it with physical eyes. It can't be seen that way." Actually, I mentioned to her that she is seeing what is on the journey more clearly and defined than she will ever see through physical lives on Earth. But fear and other things she grew up with get in the way of her perceptions. They make her doubt what she's seeing and try to compare it to human terms. I said, the Atma is not a human body. You got to turn it the other way around. You have to become confident and awake and aware of your perceptions as the Atma and get the human body more capable. The human body doesn't make the Atma more capable. It's the other way around. So, you know, she understood. And it's just that kind of thing you have to deal with sometimes with people. She's been hewing and going on these journeys for a long time, and she thinks she doesn't see something until I point out that she does. And then she admits to herself that she is, and then you start to get over that whole illusion. "I don't see nothing." "Well, did you see anything on the journey?" "No, I didn't see anything." And then she admits later she saw the statue and Lemuria, and she saw this. And she just still thinks she's not seeing anything. So her question, I knew when she asked it, was a kind of defense mechanism.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like the person in a human state wants somebody to wave a magic wand and turn on everything for them for free just while they sit there in a hotel. It can't be done that way.
Right, definitely.
And if they had it given to them that way, they would never know how to keep it. It wouldn't be theirs, and they would lack confidence in its use anyway, and eventually they would be right back in the same boat.
Well, part of it is learning to recognize and eliminate those programs that we have running that, that the doubt is a big program.
Well, doubt's backed by fear, and fear is backed by terror of what actually happened to you happening again. That's where all this block comes from an experience that happened before that can never happen to you again, but it carries weight in that people are misdirected to think it'll happen to them again if they become aware of what happened to them and who did it to them. Because then it squeals on reptilians or somebody else, as if the Galactic Alliance didn't know they were doing it anyway. It's that kind of thinking of tyrants. The stuff that was done to us was done to many people. People are still spraying chemtrails on this planet just out of blind stupidity and ignorance and misdirection, fear. They're trying to solve global warming by spraying chemicals in the air. It's not going to work. They've been doing it for 25 years, and something compels them to do it. It's not going to kill everybody off, although when they do have aluminized, aerosol aluminized aluminum, what do they call aluminum hydroxide, that can have deleterious effects, and inoculations in children and stuff like that.
Yes, it definitely does.
But there's also some aluminum formaldehyde in some of the inoculations they mandatorily give children now. What business do those chemicals have in inoculations?
Absolutely none whatsoever.
So, like Michael's kids, he had to go through finally facing in New York to get his kids inoculated because he couldn't get around it. So the biggest point and part he has to play in that, he can't determine what his wife will think like, but he had to bring to the table when she got some inoculations, no fear, no negative fear, because if he adds that to the child getting a shot, he can kill that child or get her diseased from it, from his own fear, without realizing it. So he's got to bring the hue and the expansion ray into the arena for the sake of the doctor, who really has their hands tied in this regard, the politicians who make misdirected choices and laws like this on fear, and bring that energy through to his daughter, because that'll protect her.
That
way some kids get ill from these things and some kids don't. It all has to do with the parents more than anything else. The kids look up to them. They accept the energy that's dumped into them from the parents. And that can be very disastrous because it's negative, fear, disease, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I had to help him in that regard. And it helped a lot because the child's just fine. Could have been otherwise. So
that's good. That's a terrible dilemma to have to go through. I do have.
Well, the thing is, I normally don't talk about this kind of thing on shows because I'm not in what I do for debate or getting into controversy with people about chemtrails or global warming or inoculations or anything else. Because basically beings on Earth, the majority of them, do not realize they're not a body. And most of their decisions are being based on fear of bodies and the future of this planet. And that means the leaders of the world too, hidden or otherwise. They're making decisions based on fear. And when people make decisions based on fear, they are always in every case incorrect, not the optimum choice. And that leads to more destructive outcomes, unexpected, that they have to shuffle and spend money on to try to fix, including covering up their knowledge of extraterrestrials. Something always slips up every single year to undermine their classified system. Not by people trying to squeal, but by forces and beings beyond this world that are helping to bring an awareness to this planet to change all that for their own sake. Really, for their own sake. Any form of negative imagination and use of emotion in a negative way by government people, lawyers, or anybody else, politicians, will result in incorrect decisions for the best good of life on this planet. Every time without exception. So you see, the direction people are heading this planet in their ignorance and fear is not a good one.
Yes, and I have, some friends sometimes that speak to me about that fear of, like 5G is another one, vaccination.
Well, 5G is the same thing as 2000 was year 2000 and Y2K, and everything's going to be dead and gone, starving in the street. Remember when the clocks are going to
Yeah,
turn?
I remember that very well. I remember that.
Silly. Nothing's going to change because of that. But people will build up all this Armageddon, let's destroy the earth to get out of our suffering.
Mhm.
It doesn't work, and it never will, because people ignorantly, out of fear of destroying their own planet, will not set them free. They won't go to some permanent Christian or Muslim or Hindu heaven. There's no such thing as a permanent heaven that way. Because as people evolve, they have to become able to accept solving the greater problems and co-creating with the source itself, what people call the supreme being. Human beings are destined to co-create responsibly with it and discover new ways of doing things while they're experiencing lives in the lower worlds, and then bring that awareness back to the source. We're supposed to be returning to the source from whence we came, not stuck unconscious in bodies over and over again on planets.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
the experiment of evil that failed, that went wrong, that I talk about.
Yes, and people want somebody to blame for that when in fact we were responsible for it.
Every one of us as individual Atmas, not bodies, because the Atma is not made of matter. It doesn't relative to time and space and age and dying and being born and all that. And it is, since Atmas are comprised of exactly the same energy as the source, or what the most advanced extraterrestrials refer to as prime creator. We are all part of that prime creator, literally, not figuratively, not a secondary creation of it, outside of it as some kind of secondary energy we call soul. No. We are actually drops out of the exact same energy, individualized as spheres of energy. Our job in going into the worlds and playing around on round planets and round suns, because we're round,
Mhm.
is to find new ways of creating things so that one day we can make the lower dimensions that are positive and negative, good and bad, mirrors of the upper worlds. And you can't do that if you don't know what the upper worlds are or how they work, and you don't remember. So my work is highly focused on, especially now, getting people grounded in these journeys, at least to beyond the void known to most Buddhist monks and to other esoteric groups on earth. Because if you want to change something down here, you can't do it from a physical body and brain collectively with other humans on any world. You can't change anything. The lower dimensions are fixed and finished. They work on a basic law of cause and effect. Every action creates an equal and opposite reaction. You put out negative thoughts and fear, the universe mirrors it back to you to teach. And it's been going on that way for, I don't know, a couple 100 billion years in the physical time and space, and Atmas are stuck in that illusion. They don't know they're not a body. They don't know what they look like or how they function as an Atma, or what people call soul, what it looks like. It has structure, what the faculties in it are, how to move it around the universe and not be stuck in bodies. Run bodies, fine, play in them, but don't get stuck in them to the degree that you forget everything else.
Mhm.
This is what's happened to people on Earth. And in many cases, long before they ever incarnated here, out in the universe, in other lives, in other worlds, where bad things happen and soon tyrants get them in one way or another. At the end, they end up on Earth with no memory, being born in a baby body, growing up to be an adult, and they haven't got a clue who they are or how they got to be on Earth. So they're stuck with faith or belief in something someone outside of them tells them is the truth for them to believe in. But believe it on faith, don't have any direct experience with it. See, that's the misdirection.
And then expect that you're going to know when you actually, you wait until you die to find out.
There's no guarantee that anything they believe in will happen the way they think.
Exactly. And that, I think that is one of the most profound statements of it all, is that why would you want to wait until you die to find out if that was even correct?
People buy into that simply because they can't find any other avenue to wake up to remember who they are. So they just acquiesce to a belief system. And if they believe in something strongly, they'll go to some plane on the 4 lower dimensions, some temporary heaven, and they'll think they're going to be out there picking tulips out in the flowers and making garlands and living their little naked butt playing harps out in the clouds, for eternity. And this is not only ridiculous, it's impractical. Nobody's going to go up into a higher world, innocent and naive, and who can't be trusted to wield anything, and just live there like dumb bits in a computer under the authority of some tyrant, a supreme source being. And they're just supposed to be I don't know what they think they're going to do. But in reality, beings who leave this life, they'll either be met by relatives, sometimes what they think are angels, and they're often convinced it's best for them to go back to Earth and get in a body, and we'll wipe your memory so you can start over and get it right. There's a problem with that illusion that people buy into, and the people telling them that are as much in the illusion as they are, even beyond this life. And that is, people go to Earth with no memory of all the wisdom they've ever gained in eternity, in many lives, in many dimensions, and they get on Earth with no memory of any of it, just a brain they're growing up with, and they're expected to get it right? What? How can they possibly make good decisions that way? Well, they can't. They're going to be making decisions based upon how they grew up and all the fear and terror and all the crap that's on the earth. And they're going to be making their whole lives decisions based on that. How are they going to get out of anything doing the same old thing that way?
And the purpose of Atma being the ability to co-create with the Creator and come up with something that is good for everyone, everywhere. It's awesome.
Well, see, that's what we're supposed to be doing as human beings. People wonder, why do I exist? Why do I have a human body? How did I get on Earth? All these questions. And there's people on the internet, and on YouTube and Facebook, all putting out a million different diverse views of this.
Yes.
All often laced with their anger and revenge towards government people or the classified community or extraterrestrial bad guys, and they're putting all this fear into the future while they're trying to do a service of telling people the truth, and that doesn't work because they're actually cooperating with negative energy. It traps them to the earth, and it keeps them from working together collectively. They just busy fighting each other for followers and money or book sales or something. I stopped having anything to do with all those fellow beings in the UFO and extraterrestrial and disclosure communities, because right now, as I stand back and do the work I'm doing, independent of all of them, I see them fighting with each other and throwing stones at each other and backstabbing each other and bad-mouthing each other. It's just, they don't realize how caught and conquered they are. If they can't work together, why would a military-industrial complex fear any of them?
It's true.
They're not a threat, really.
It's true.
So, I say this for your little radio show and Perry's and all that, because I actually want to be of benefit to them, to get them to drop that fear of the future stuff. Drop talking about wars out in space and slaughtering reptilians and cutting off people's heads and doing all this stuff, because it's just acting like tyrants themselves. It doesn't help anything change on this planet at all. It's just people getting off on anger on the internet, or revenge, or carrying a negative emotion, putting it in their work and throwing it about fear of the future. Next week, there's going to be an Armageddon, at 9 o'clock at 12 midnight on such a date 3 months from now. Oh, the world's poles are going to flip. There's going to be tidal waves. And everything's going to be dead. Oh, we're going to be hit by a meteor.
It's just endless, isn't it?
On and on and on. And it's such a waste of their lives and their time on this planet doing that. Does not benefit anyone or anything. And it never will. It can't, because it's negative. Nothing new or any invention or any creation anywhere in this world, whether people or know it, or any world, has ever been brought into creation in the lower worlds, whether it's spaceships or anti-gravity, teleportation, cures for disease. None of that has ever been created by tyrant extraterrestrial beings. They do not and cannot invent anything new. They steal it from people who do. And any tyrant on Earth or anywhere in the universe that lords himself or herself over people has stolen the ability to do that from associations they've had with tyrant extraterrestrials, even in the ancient past of this planet. The better people become aware of this, the sooner they start to wake up and pull their own free will, their own imagination and feelings out of that mass nonsense, they start to make progress very quickly. They begin to remember, because knowing who you are as a being, as an Atma, as a spherical being, the energy that it is, that's not nuclear, not atoms, electrons, or any of that, is an energy that exists before that was created. That's us.
And knowing how powerful it really is, I mean, just thinking that you could put a bomb right under it and it wouldn't do anything. And here we are, identifying with our body, like you say.
Here's the thing people got to start to understand on this planet if they're ever going to play among the stars openly and freely and happily. They got to have to understand that all beings in any world, on any tyrants, carnivores, whites, tall whites, grays, reptilians, mantis, 1,000 million other types of forms of highly evolved races, human, humanoid, on countless billions of world systems that are out there now, more advanced technologically than people on Earth, already have jurisdiction over most of the planets in the Milky Way. The people from Earth are not going to go out there and plant an American flag or a Russian flag or Chinese flag out on these other worlds and then start bilking the resources out of them. Like they're just going to go out there and carry their backwards thinking from Earth, their fear-driven, subconscious-driven consciousness out in the stars. Take their nuclear bombs out there and stuff like that. Ain't going to work because space is already occupied. And by more advanced races, we're not going to kick their butt. So
they would kick ours in a heartbeat.
If it wasn't for kind extraterrestrials, particularly the vast numbers that I know, Earth would have been annihilated, dominated, most of the people killed or eaten or tortured, worse than Hitler ever would have, already would have been done. If the people that made a treaty with tyrant extraterrestrial race to get antiquated extraterrestrial technology after World War II, if it had not been intervened and stopped because it was illegally done from an off-world perspective, then this planet, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Hitler was set up to wipe out 3/4 of the population of this planet. That was what he was tasked to do. And that is what he was headed to do. He was doing it for people not from this earth who wanted to break an off-world treaty and sneak in and take over this planet. And of course that failed. We all know it failed.
So it wasn't just about annihilating the Jews. It was about annihilating.
No. Pure Aryan race. Anybody else is exterminated.
Wow.
That was the goal. All black people, Asians, everybody else except white, Caucasian, Aryan people would have been eliminated.
Wow.
Why? Because it's easier for an extraterrestrial race to control 500 million than 7 billion. That's the way they think. I don't worry about the future of this planet. I don't worry about the chemtrail issue. I don't dwell on it in fear every day like most people are, who know about it are scared and terrified and all that. No. The fact is the people that are doing what they're doing on this earth today, without realizing they're being subconsciously misdirected from programs that were placed in them, they didn't even know it was being done. I'm talking about the elite on the planet, the highest that know of the highest classified levels, hidden government and all that. Those are the people that are first twisted the most by tyrants, meeting in secret, classified. And that's how they try to take over a world, get all the populace to remain a slave labor class, getting all the resources out of the planet, making equipment for their ships and shipping it off-world in a classified space program for 65 years to get old, antiquated extraterrestrial technology. It's a hook, a wink, a scam, a lie, a deceit. And the beings that had gotten people on Earth to sign that and do it against their better judgment would have been killed mercilessly at the right time had it proceeded forward. They would have killed everybody they made a deal with on this earth. You see, the elite would never have acquired or accomplished what they believed they would, whether it's a base on Mars or behind the moon. They were headed for self-annihilation, and they never realized this. Later, they did realize they had been tricked and lied to. So they've been struggling to try to get out of this association with tyrants As we all know, some of them were a small number in underground bases in this country and others. And they have been sent away from this world, escorted out of here. Any that remain or would be are on their way out of here because they're only here breaking an off-world treaty, and they were caught doing it. They're always caught doing it. Tyrants think, how can I get around that treaty and get some more humans just short of going to war? Because if they went to war with the Galactic Alliance, they would lose again. The problem is that Earth and all of its people would probably be destroyed in that process. So that's the real razor's edge here about how to get this planet, its people, free from tyrant off-world influence and on its way to playing among the stars. The first thing you have to do that is change or get corralled tyrants from other worlds and put them through a transformation that ends their tyrant nature. Because something was done to them long ago in galactic history that made them the tyrants they are. They just didn't do it on their own. You find this out when you go and research and explore Galactic History 101. You can't do that in a physical body with a brain on Earth because it didn't grow up knowing any of it. You have to go as the Atma out in the universe and meet with other beings who can do this and that can show you or help you remember what real galactic history is, what real ancient world Earth history is, and the solar system. So I wrote 2 books. The Ceres Agenda.
Yes.
And this is about what's happening mostly with people from other worlds out in our universe, out in our galaxy, and in different parallel dimensions in the physical universe and in higher realities as well. And their master teachers, what they recently went through that is changing the way they're addressing this non-interference in planets. What do I mean by that? It means in the past, if a world was going to be self-annihilated, and if the influence of that self-annihilation came from negative extraterrestrials to that world, they would stand by if a collective group consciousness wanted to blow themselves up or have an Armageddon, they would let it happen. They wouldn't interfere because interfering can cause other repercussions in space-time that are also negative. So they would stand back and wouldn't really change that. Defend their own worlds, but if it's out in worlds that are questionable, that are trying to be coerced or brought into a tyrant world system or into a benevolent world system, free up for the grab, so to speak, then they would let that kind of thing take place if they couldn't convince the leaders of the world to go in a different direction. And they would move off and let it go. Now, one of the things that happened was a planet called Maldek in our solar system that is now an asteroid field circling in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter. And it was blown apart from the core outwards. There were people on that world. It was millions of years ago. But that created repercussions in space-time that affected not only life on Mars and Earth at the time, and started creating these polar wobbles that we do, these polar flips that would happen on Earth every 100,000 years. All of that is reversible, and all of that has been stopped for this planet recently. So we won't have any more polar flipping here. Earth is the only planet I know of in the galaxy that actually flips its poles cyclically like that, or did. None of the other planets do that, which means if you're on a human world somewhere out in space, in the Pleiades or somewhere, you could grow on that planet for hundreds of millions of years and not be interrupted. But on Earth, 100,000 in one day, every life on the surface is destroyed. Continents from the ocean floor rise up, major continents sink, counterbalanced on the core. It's quite destructive. The world's just fine, it survives, but the people forget about it. Mammal life, most plants, gone. Tidal waves 4,000 feet high going 500 to 1,000 miles an hour across the planet. You wouldn't survive it. There would be no such thing as an underground military industrial complex based 2 miles down surviving it. It'd be ripped apart. A lot deeper than 2 miles, too. So there's no security in that.
None.
You're not going to have any security having a secret base on the backside of the moon, ultimately. There's too many extraterrestrials out there involved. Not all of them good. That will influence the outcome of that base. Or one on Mars in a classified space program. Because that's just a couple of planets near Earth. It's not even getting out among the stars. And if you take that kind of covert, dishonest, deceptive, lying, classified storytelling phenomena, fabrication nonsense out into space and try to have associations with great, wonderful beings out there, you're not going to do it. They'll see right through it. And they're not going to stand for it. So Earth and the solar system we live in is quarantined by them because we're dangerous. People on Earth going in space are lunatics. They're not rational. They're driven by decisions based on subconscious fear. And most of them don't even know they're making decisions based on subconscious negative influences. Normal humans in other worlds don't have those influences. So you see, Earth people have to change for the better in order to come into their own and take their place among the stars as a spacefaring race. We're ready for it.
And isn't that all changing now because of the youre?
Yeah, it is, because as you know, there's an omnipresent first sound, just to help enlighten people on Earth who don't remember it because they once knew it, believe it or not, that underlies all creation and runs through a field of energy on different vibrational levels from the physical universe through the emotional, astral plane, causal, mental, etheric. There's a big void up there. It takes a lot of light to get across. And then there's these creative worlds higher than the lower worlds that have nothing but pure positive energy. And there's no positive and negative, no opposites. There's no suns and moons and stars up there. Just whole, I guess, manifestations of land masses floating in energy atmospheres. It's done differently than down here. It's not necessary for things to revolve around suns and moons around planets up there. That's part of the electromagnetic field force between a positive and negative node. Creates those balances. They're designed spherically so that beings like us that are spherical, like what we make, can inhabit bipedal life forms that can walk around upright on these planets and get sensory input about the air and the smell and the texture and the feeling and the pressure and the atmosphere and breathing and maybe making baby bodies and have their atmos control them and all that, in order to learn how to one day return with what we've learned all the way above that void to that source and share it. What happens when we do that? Very few beings have ever returned there and shared anything. They're all busy down here praying to some God. Gimme, 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 gimme this. I am yours, O Lord. Gimme, gimme, gimme. This is all wrong. It is not the nature of a human being, not a body, to do that. Its nature is to have the courage and the confidence to run bodies on different planes and not have any fear involved whatsoever, to be able to get in and out of those bodies and know it, and be able to experience things and come up with new insights about how to solve the biggest problem there is in all of the eternal creation. How do you make the lower dimensions of positive and negativity, where the experiment of evil is, how do you make that one day be a mirror of the upper worlds? That is our job. That's why human beings exist, and they have no idea anymore on Earth that that's a fact. There are many races out among the stars and other dimensions that play among the stars and can go out of their bodies to higher planes where you can't take a spaceship. Who know this? Grow up knowing it. And the fact that people on Earth have been kept on purpose in the dark about even that life exists beyond this planet only has been done to protect an elite group who have been promised totalitarian control of the world by their off-world allies who are lying to them, have lied to them. They'd never tolerate human beings ruling a world they want to conquer. They would eliminate all of them and then just move in. That's the actual deal they made. It's not a good one. If there hadn't been some intervention, Not to where beings from other worlds that are kind want to run governments on this planet. They could care less about that. That's a burden they don't want. But to get people running them to be benevolent and kind and thoughtful and considerate and really care about their own people. Overpopulation, allowing it to run rampant, is not a kind consideration for the survival of a planet. It's just people out of control. People are making things and doing things and having untold numbers of children without any thought of overpopulation or anything else. They're driven by hormones, by thinking their bodies. If they were Atmas, fully aware, running bodies, they would make different decisions about all of this collectively. There wouldn't be any suppression. Nobody would be denied any pleasure, but it would be in balance, and the world would be kept in balance ecologically, environmentally, population, and everything else. Not because it's mandatory law, because people wouldn't do it otherwise. They're smart enough to know better. A couple on another planet going to have a baby or something like that, or bring a fetus into life and have it grow up much more expediently than they do on Earth. They're going to know who that being is they're agreeing to take over raising that body for them, who's a mature being, an Atma, for whatever purpose they want to get born in that world. That's done consciously by the parents, not just unconsciously on Earth. People don't realize that on Earth yet. They're meant to be conscious beings in all of this, co-creators with the source behind all life. And if you have that kind of wisdom awaken you, you're not going to be making the decisions that will end up being destructive to this planet or the surface dwellers or the ecology or the animal or the plant life or the air or the water. These are just common sense to most people, not on Earth. So I bring this up because as I share it and people hear it, this work that I do is telepathic. This means that I'm working with beings who are telepathic from countless world systems, the masters, teachers that work with them, that work with me from not only the physical universe, but higher dimensions as well. And it's all done in such a way, its focus at this time is to bring about a benevolent transformation to planet Earth for the first time. Not just Earth, but many other worlds, tyrant worlds out in our galaxy, tyrant nature of beings in the 4 lower dimensions, and there are many, in these places in these heavens people think they're going to. It's not honest, and it hasn't been for a very long time. That is changing. It's changing in new ways out in the galaxy, and it will affect this Earth for the first time in entirely unexpected new ways. This is going to require that people on Earth begin to recover true free will, because they don't have it right now.
People keep talking about it like they have it, and they don't.
No, it's clear. If you are born in a body and you grow up as a baby and you learn in that brain and that body whatever there is in that life you grew up with, and that's it, nothing off-world really, and you grow up in that body, you're left to your own device on a planet to figure out why you're here and what to do without having access to your higher normal faculties of perception. The ability to know what's in the multidimensional universe, the life that's there, what's on other planets, to be able to go out of your body at night and go visit those planets. You don't have to get on a spaceship. There are races that do get on spaceships and come across the stars to Earth. But they can also get out of their bodies and come here instantly too. The spaceship business out there is more for the nature of beings who are less evolved, so they can get around to these planets and help them evolve, and which they wouldn't understand a being appearing as a sphere in front of you going, ooh, spooks, goblins. You know, people on Earth having a real Atma, what they are, appear in front of them in 3D and go, hi, I'm talking to you telepathically, would scare them to death. Their own being, if they knew what it looked like, would scare them to death, because they have things running, they're subconsciously influencing them that terrorize them whenever they look at real truth. Tries to keep them from getting to it. That's the nature of the subconscious mind. It's an artificially created energy field created around that sphere you see above your head, the one running your body. You can't change or destroy or harm the Atma itself, but you can put an energy field around it made of molecular matter that has images in it that just gives you a distorted view of the universe when you look out into it. That's how tyrants control the energy of beings without destroying Atmas. It's just really misusing advanced extraterrestrial technology.
Now, when we use the hue, doesn't that help remove some of those misdirecting, or some of that misdirecting energy that has been placed around the Atma?
It provides the opportunity, it raises the vibration, the molecular time rate of your physical body. It lights up the brain's parts you don't use. It makes it possible for you to remember that you're not a physical body. And so you can voluntarily co-create with beings who know how to help you best to allow them to do it. The hue sets up the parameters and the conditions, unexpected beings crossing your path. It helps you create that. And then eventually this happens. It will turn off negative subconscious misdirecting programs. Some people at this Perry show, one of them said that she felt like she was going to throw up because she did the hue. Another one said, I got dizzy. I said, well, yeah, you're going to get out of your body in space and hover as an atom above the planet with all of us looking at it. You might get a little, oh my God, I'm out in space. And the physical body will react traumatically a little bit with a dizziness or a quasi stomach or whatever, as if you're on a roller coaster. But that's just the nervous system reacting subconsciously with terror. So you will stop using it. There's nothing of any negative nature whatsoever in the hue. Nothing of any nature that is negative. Emotion, imagination, beings in or out of bodies, demons, devils, I don't care who they are, extraterrestrial technology misused, none of that can penetrate the hue when you're in it. Because it was set up in the beginning of creation. It's a fail-safe. It allows a person to begin to journey and recover who they are and return to the source from whence they came to fulfill their purpose.
I like that, a fail-safe. That's perfect.
The new ray in it is a new consciousness woven through it. It's like a white light with a golden essence now. This Holy Spirit, this what people blab out, Holy Spirit, this and that. They really don't know what it is. They pray to it. They ask favors for it. They ask God, the Supreme Being, to do this, to do that, for worshiping it. The source behind all life, above the void, above where tyrants pretend to be that God and have,
yes.
That source never required or requested that anybody worship it in the first place. That is not the nature of human beings or what our purpose is. Tyrants want people doing that so that they can keep them stupid till they die, ignorant, unexperienced, and recycle them, use their energy. The source itself never requested that we worship it. All that it requests of us as Atmas, made of it, is that we respect it and each other and all life in the grand multidimensional universe. All life, without exception. That means knowing what's in the grand multidimensional universe, understanding that Atmas are running and motivating animals in their bodies too. Their nervous systems are pretty sophisticated, but not as sophisticated as a human being. People need to recover understanding who they are that isn't physical so they can understand the beings that are running other physical bodies. Life on worlds change dramatically overnight when a world culture starts to wake up to this fact. It's happened before out in the universe. What's happening on Earth has happened to other worlds before, but not in the way that it's being done this time.
It's better this time, isn't it?
Well, one of the things you have to do if you're going to have a planet evolve and not be destroyed is to have poles on the planet not flip anymore.
Yes, that's pretty disastrous.
There are beings called silent mentors, silent ones, silent mentors. They have other names, but they are actually beings who run the mechanics of creation that humans have no idea, and most extraterrestrials don't know them either. They're very reclusive. They don't normally interact with souls, human beings, Atmas. They run the mechanics of creation. a galaxy spinning around a nucleus, suns with planets around them, all organized, billions of galaxies, all these levels and all these dimensions, and the doorways between them. They run the mechanics of creation and maintain it. They've recently gone through a consciousness transformation that is getting them more involved with the Atma. In the higher worlds, particularly in the U Expansion Ray Academy, where I've taken some people, as you know, Gail, on journeys to this place. I can't remember now, did we ever take an audience, a radio audience, after we get them in this dream state called sleep, or the sleep state? The sleep we call it, it's really a trance state we call sleep. Did we ever take them up to the U Expansion Ray Academy?
I think we've just gone to Satnam's realm and to Lemuria, the parallel Earth.
I'll ask you because I'm hesitant to take anybody that far on these journeys.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I want to repress the information about it, but people on Earth need to be able to recondition the way their bodies are a bit to handle that higher energy and that higher awareness. And we want to make sure that when we do this, that it's beneficial for people only.
Yes.
That's my main point. When you work with the Hue, it's going to protect you in this way. It comes with a certain protection that people need to experience for themselves. It can't be just my words or me sharing my experiences. What I share with people, I know with certainty from direct experience, or I wouldn't share it. But that doesn't help other people necessarily have that knowing certainty for themselves. I can tell them hidden truth, deliberately hidden truth all day long about other worlds, other dimensions, the classified government, what changes they're going through to come free and deliver true disclosure. They're all going through this process now. They know there's no future heading out in space the way they are. They already know that. They know there's no future in space travel the way this planet's divided. But are you going to have China and Russia and the United States all go out there in separate rockets and fight over the spoils of some planet they land on? No one's going to tolerate that who live out there. Duh, it's common sense. They're not. Neither would you if you were out there. So what I'm sharing with people is that there is no future destiny for this world to remain the way it is and play among the stars. There isn't one. There never will be. For this planet, its people to take that giant leap and get given extraterrestrial technology openly, cures for disease, waking up, getting out of their bodies, working with wonderful beings, going on field trips to a Pleiadian home world on a weekend, that kind of thing. This is all possible at this time for this planet. People attempted to get this started at the end of World War II and were turned down by governments here.
Oh, that's so
We're
sad.
afraid of them, afraid of tyrants and good guys. They didn't know who they could trust. They just come out of fighting a war and the first people to use nuclear weapons on people. And this is the consciousness they came away with to meet with extraterrestrials, good and bad from other worlds. It was not a pretty situation. But it was a necessary one in order to keep the world from being taken over. Hitler was nothing more than a pawn of beings who don't live on Earth. The sooner people understand this, as hidden government classified people do, they do now.
They do not?
They do. Yeah, because, you start looking into things and checking, with your extraterrestrial friends, what's the real history here? And then they're shown it, and they can't believe it at first. And then after a while, they begin to understand that they were shown the truth. And it isn't what people thought. These wars that have happened on this planet, this change from an industrial evolution into space technology and computers and lasers and all that kind of thing, reverse engineered anti-gravity craft in its infancy stage, all came about through the influence of extraterrestrial beings one way or another. People on Earth did not earn this on their own suddenly after World War II. They acquired some of this that was illegally given to the Nazi scientists they pardoned and brought into this country. and placed him in the head of our space program, or NASA, our classified project development, which they did. It's on record. It's disclosed. It's exactly what they did here and in Russia. The Nazis were not more brilliant. They were given an illegal hands up on technology from off-world by tyrants. This is who they pardoned and brought into the United States and into the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union. So they brought the influences right into both countries. That's a problem because they haven't given up trying to take over the world. They're never going to, because that's been policed from outside this planet. Kind beings do not come in and take over worlds and tell everybody what to do and order them about. They have intervened in the affairs of this planet to the degree that they had to keep this people from blowing themselves up in a nuclear war. Tyrants wouldn't care if we blew ourselves up in a nuclear war. They'd still come and take the resources. They're sore losers. If they lose the attempt to take this planet over, they try to blow it up on their way out of town if they're being kicked out. That was another problem that had to be solved. People don't know anything about it. Yeah, so this is what set up the circumstances that we're at today in 2019. What really happened after World War II and what treaties were made with who and how we got the technology is extremely highly classified. It means that people have decided that a few have the right to know about this stuff, but the rest of us dummies on Earth aren't smart enough or privileged enough to know it. And this is just them being misdirected subconsciously to play in the hands of tyrants not from this earth, and get them to control the elected people, and then the elected people control the people. You don't need an army from outer space to come over and take over a planet this way. You just need to collectively control a few. That's how this really works. All that's being reversed. So I don't project, and I never have, from day one, fear about the future or the future destiny of this world. I do not work with negative emotions, fear, terror, doubt, speculation, theory, debate, or any of those wastes of time. Because it's people, talking heads, talking about what they believe and not really finding anything out at all. But meanwhile, while they're doing that, their lives are dwindling away and they're not finding out anything.
Well, I see that more and more every day. The more I do the here, the more I go through all of this, the more I see it. It just seems so obvious now. It's not always that obvious at first, but it becomes increasingly obvious.
Well, that's because you're waking up and you're able to discern the difference between what appears to be truth on the internet and what isn't, or what's deliberate misinformation. You can see there's a difference. But with both being put out in equal measure, people stay in doubt. And if you remain in doubt, you're controllable.
Yes. So true.
So when I share this stuff on these shows, it's not meant just for you or the listening audience in the general world populace. It's meant for the hidden elite, classified people, their fellow human beings. It's meant for all of them because they need to be encouraged to disclose fully to the populace of this planet who are ready for it. It's not the people who aren't ready for it anymore. It's the people controlling things that aren't ready for it. They're afraid of the repercussions that will happen to them when they come clean. And this is understandable, but they are also beginning to realize they're getting unexpected and unasked for help. When they're out of their bodies at night, they're being approached, not by demons, not by bad people, by kind beings that are helping them discover who they are and all the misdirection they put in motion. Because they're going to get into a position where they can change all that in cooperation with beings who can actually fix this planet properly.
And they have the protection of the hue like everyone else.
If they use it, they do. Yes. And it will make changes in their consciousness for the better. So it's really for everyone. I've never been an advocate of, nor do I encourage anyone to carry revenge or hatred towards anyone, anywhere, on any planet. Our government, classified people, reptilians, tall whites, grays, anybody that did some nasty abducting 25 years ago, and was stopped because it hasn't happened since. No more abductions, none of that's going on anymore. So a lot has been done to prepare the way for disclosure. And as it happens on this planet, the help will be provided so that people don't riot. They drop revenge, because if they recover who they are, they won't want to carry negative emotions or imagination anyway. And this would be true for classified people as well. We're all in this together. And we're all going to have to come out of it together in a new way.
It's actually a beautiful thing if you think about it. Things move in the right direction.
You know what people call dark matter, which would be just the black void of space people see from photographs of the moon, from a satellite, or from Hubble, and other stars and the galaxies and all the galaxies, and you see in pictures millions of them, there's this black void in the background. It really isn't black at all. It's quite bright white light with a golden essence running through it, supporting everything. It is an omnipresent field of energy that appears black to human eyes because human eyes are designed to only see a small spectrum of light.
Yes.
We don't see X-rays and ultraviolet and infrared and all that, microwaves and you name it, whatever we call these different levels of vibration. But out in space, as an Atma, when you're looking at space as a sphere, it appears normal, white light, holding everything up, connecting everything, moving between planets and moons, moons and stars, stars in the center of a galaxy, other galaxies, and then up through the dimensions at different rates of vibration. That dark matter that they've detected in the CERN Super Collider, the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, doesn't exactly behave like the laws of physics say it should, like molecules and neutrons and protons and all that, gravity. They call it the God particle because they don't know what to do with it. They know it's an energy field that's behind all matter, but they don't know what it is. But they're making progress. So what we're doing is helping people take a giant leap. For this planet to leap from self-destruction, which is what it's headed towards, into an unexpected change, the people on this world collectively have to recover free will. They do not have free will, and I'll explain why this is true. If a person is born on this in a body on this earth and grows up with no memory of who they are as an Atma, not a body, and all they knew before they were compelled against their will to enter a body here, unconscious, then they don't have free will. If they're expected to get it right for God, living a life on earth as if it was a contract they signed, and they don't remember who they are or any of the wisdom they have awakened in the Atma, recovered, taken out of the subconscious and brought to the surface, then they don't have free will or enough intellect or intelligence to make good decisions for themselves or their planet, because they're not operating on all thrusters. They're operating from a human body growing up one life. They got a degree, maybe they're a PhD, and that's what they're trying to make decisions about on a planetary scale to survive in a grand universe. It won't work. It can't. So this planet's people are going to require, at some point, out of necessity, a massive intrusion of kind beings from other worlds and their technology to help sort this place out. It's happened on other worlds when they reach this critical phase of self-annihilation or space travel. The future of this world can never go into the future like they portrayed in Star Trek. Radioactive warp cores driving ships, warp drives across the universe, because that's just destructive. Radioactive isotopes are man-made. Imbalanced radiation would kill you, gets out of its little container. People from other worlds don't use that kind of energy to get around the universe. It couldn't get you around the universe anyway. You have to work with the plasma that's behind matter in order to get around the laws of physics, because it does not operate according to the laws of physics. Duh. For me, it's like, yeah. So there are people on Earth who are beginning to realize this, what they call 0-point energy or toroidal energy, the basic energy of the universe, is how people get around. They run this energy through their craft, no tailpipes, no pollution, and they don't even use the energy, and they get across the stars. Go figure.
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
You see, people can't really play in higher ways like they think they can, being liars and deceivers and negative and using negativity, deceiving populations on a planet. They'll never be able to use their higher faculties to do this properly, because those higher faculties do not work with any kind of negative emotion or imagination whatsoever.
That's key right there.
Will not. So this world, I'd say, is ready for a giant leap, and it's an unexpected one. So let's go on a little journey. I ask everybody on your show, if they're willing, of real free will. Just takes having a little courage to make that surface over what you grew up with. To sit in a chair, lie in a bed, close your eyes, shut off the light coming into your eyes, and it shuts off the brain in that sense. So what you're doing, all we're doing is putting the body in the trance state we call sleep. The same way all of you on earth do every single night anyway, effortlessly, without a second thought. And you don't realize what it is you're doing, how complex it is. The real you, the spherical you, the energy you, the Atma, the soul, is the only thing that can run or motivate a biological machine like a human body with twin-stranded DNA. It runs the nervous system through the pineal gland in the center of the human brain, from outside the body or beyond it. Can be inside it, whatever it chooses to do. A human body and brain grown up with a PhD, sitting in a chair, thinking everything comes from their brain, all their intelligence and emotions. If the Atma withdrew its attention from that brain, it would sit there and drool or snore or go to sleep. It wouldn't do anything. If the Atma withdrew completely from it, the body would cease to exist, fall over and be dead. This happens when the body stops functioning anyway. The Atma just leaves and moves on. It is tremendously beneficial and involves true free will for a being to recover, knowing who they are and being able to move it in and out of the body at will for very good reason while the body's alive on earth. And not wait till you're dead to find out whether or not your faith and what you believe in is true or not. There are elements of faith that are true. Be kind to others, treat others as you would have them treat you, and all these natural common sense things. But in reality, there is no real God up there, what we call the source, the prime creator, that requests we worship it at all. That's trying to placate God to get favors, which is admitting you're nothing but a doormat under some tyrant's boot. This is not the way it really works in creation. That's how people believe on Earth, but it isn't true outside of this planet. And in other dimensions, it's not true. There are tyrants working in the lower planes like astral, causal, and mental that prop themselves up as the supreme being and demand worship. But right now, as we speak, they are being surrounded by silent mentors, and they're going through a change so that they do not operate that way anymore. We do this so the lower worlds do not have to be destroyed completely as they have been in the past and rebuilt and being sent back down into them to get this right. That never worked. Something else is underway now to bring about change in the lower dimensions on Earth and out in space for the first time in a new way. To do that, what we call the experiment of evil has to be retired permanently like the dinosaur and replaced with an energy in the omnipresent living energy force behind all life, the hue, that motivates all beings to only imagine and create that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on their one little planet, all life. This is the natural future of our destiny. People are going to find it out one way or another, the hard way or the easy way, but they're going to find it out. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they're in your life, person, place, or thing. But something, when you first imagine it, makes you smile inside. It could be a smiling child's face playing in a field. It could be a flock of birds flying overhead, looking at a giraffe and smiling, watching your kitty or your pet playfully running around on a rug, whatever it is. It opens a doorway through the pineal gland. When you put the body to bed at night, you're actually making the pineal gland, unknowingly, secrete serotonin, make melatonin. It's basically putting the body in the trance state we call sleep. It starts snoring, heart works, lungs work, blood circulates while you're gone. Just because you grew up on a planet with no training whatsoever from birth into adulthood, that this is what you're doing unconsciously doesn't mean it's not being done. The brain doesn't put itself to sleep. The Atma, you, puts it to sleep and on automatic, and you have an energy connection to it made of the hue that is not breakable. It's not a silver cord. It's not a golden cord that can be broken. It's not an astral cord. It is a telepathic link of pure energy from the white core of your being as a spherical energy, soul or Atma, to the pineal gland running the brain. You could be all the way on the other side of the galaxies and be running that body at a distance with no problems or interference from time and space. Because this energy that we're talking about is not comprised of, nor does it operate by the laws of physics or the laws of time and space. It is master over them. It is what supports all of that behind it. And we are comprised as individual beings out of that energy, but from a much higher level. I will begin these tones, and when I do this, I send out the hue, the first half of the word human, hidden in plain sight, right in people's faces, and they have no idea what it is. And it will set up a conduit, a kind of an energy connection between the pineal gland, who I am as the being hovering above this body, running it, and the being that is all of you, running your bodies. It's telepathic. It is quite beyond psychic energy of any nature. Psychic energy is mixed with the positive and negative streams in the 4 lower dimensions. So I do not work with it. Others can. They can do some benefit for people, but it's like anything. Some predictor of future events says a date and a time for something to happen, it comes to pass and does not occur. And they come up with an excuse as to why it didn't. Other times they might get lucky and predict something correctly, but it's never reliable. This is because the energy that moves through the lower dimensions moves from a positive to a negative thing, like a wave, like an energy wave. And people have to tune into that energy wave to predict anything. Knowing what's coming for the future of this planet and when, I would never divulge like some psychic prediction. Most people would latch onto a date I might suggest and fixate upon it in exclusion of doing anything along the way to recover their own awareness. So it's not a good thing for me to do, and I don't do it. My focus is to get people to have direct experience of their own. I will share with them deliberately hidden truth, and then help them assist them with techniques in the way for them to require the direct knowing and experience for themselves. Anything short of that, for my part, would be doing people a disservice. They have to have a way to recover knowing what I'm sharing with them as certain truth for themselves. That's the whole point. When I go into the hue, this is a telepathic link between Ambassador Terrellian and other beings in the Galactic Alliance and master teachers I work with who are predominantly not stationed on planet Earth. Some of them have been on planet Earth in the past and come and go from here, but they're not from Earth. And I will link with them through the hue, and I'll go into these tones and raise the vibration a tone up at a time. And I do this so that you on Earth can put that body in the trance state called sleep and still hear my voice and this little guided session and that you will, of free will, co-create, going where we go and seeing what we see to know for yourself. This will help change your awareness on Earth and raise your IQ significantly. Working with the hue this way also encourages your astral, causal, mental, and etheric bodies, you're running as a single Atma on these other dimensions, to go into the trance state called sleep, so that as a whole Atma, you can go on the journey with people I know, my friends, and experience expanded consciousness out of the body in a safe way. The hue is and can only be uplifting. There is nothing of any negative nature or dualistic nature or illusion or Maya in the hue itself. That is all woven in the lower energies of the 4 lower dimensions, including the physical galaxies. As Atmas, we are meant to have command over those low energies, not be caught in them. I will begin those tones now, and then we will go on a journey. You all get out of your bodies every night anyway, whether you know it or not. That's why the body goes to sleep unconsciously for 8 hours. It gives you the opportunity to go mix it up in the universe, in the grand multi-dimensions, and experience greater things. And the intent is that you bring it back to enlighten the little brain and body you grew up on Earth with information and capability and awareness it did not get growing up. To do that, you have to be conscious. The body naturally goes into the trance state through the hue telepathically in this way. This is done in such a way that it makes it possible for you, as an Atma, to experience going on the journey, hearing what I'm sharing with you, seeing it for yourself, so that when we return from this journey, you can download that into a brain that's never had any of this in it ever. This is what enlightening the physical consciousness is all about. When any of you ever imagine something in what you call daydreaming, you'll be sitting somewhere, bored with what's going on around you, waiting to get out of work. And you might be thinking about going to the beach that weekend. You know, and maybe your eyes are looking out the window and they're seeing the parking lot, right? Or at a school and you're looking out and seeing the parking lot or trees or something. Meanwhile, some other part of you is looking at being up in the mountains or by a waterfall, swimming in the ocean, or something like that. The brain that's connected to the eyes looking at the parking lot does not see or visualize what you're seeing far away from that body. The Atma, the real you, the spherical you made of a spherical energy, is what utilizes the creative imagination. The physical brain does not have anything within its brain cells that allows you to see, like a motion picture camera projected on a movie screen at a theater, whatever you imagine. It's not designed to do that. It does not do that. You running that body is who does that. Of course, people on Earth aren't aware of this, so they just think their brain's doing this. And they're taught growing up from people that are ignorant and misdirected on Earth that this is what's happening. Or they're taught that dreams are not real, or other such nonsense. When you have a dream, as you call it, coming back to Earth when you wake up the body in the morning, and let's say you have a dream of flying in a physical body through the air over people who look at you amazed as if they can't do what you do. People have had dreams of flying in a physical body all the time. Once in a while, on Earth, they'll bring one back and go, gee, wasn't that a wonderful dream? I was flying. Then they tuck it away and forget about it because they think their brain made it up. This is not true at all. When you see yourself in a work situation, in a similar environment when you're asleep at night, but everything's different somehow than it is on Earth, you're actually in some other reality where that's happening. Nightmares and distorted images of things you see when you come back in the morning and wake that body up are created because you have taken your fear of the future in some way or other into the dream state or to bed with you at night. It sets up the conditions for distortion. It's negative. So our purpose is to help you find the correct way to utilize this creative imagination properly. The wrong way to use it, that is entrapping to the Atma in bodies, is when you send out an imagination of wonder and success for you and your family. And at the same time, you send out an imagination of terror and fear of your own destiny and the future destruction of this planet. When you do both at the same time, you are sending out two streams of imagination backed by emotional energy that connect with the omnipresent field of force, the hue, which is a co-creator with us, and it co-creates both circumstances to surround your life, and they neutralize each other. They are opposing forces. It's like putting a wrench across two terminals of battery, it shorts out, or it can run between them, or you can ground the battery. What it does is it just drains the energy into the earth. When we use the imagination properly, which is not utilizing the brain at all, you imagine and choose to imagine only that which is of an uplifting, constructive benefit for all life. This means the good for yourself and family, but the good for all life on planet Earth and life beyond it. This is the proper way to work with your co-creative ability with this omnipresent living energy that co-creates with us, that comes from the source behind all life. The hue puts you in direct communication with that. There's nothing of any negative nature in it. Working with this provides a certain protection for you, even on a backward planet like Earth, in order to accelerate and expand your expansion of awareness, to widen your horizons and your capabilities to understand things and know things. It reconditions the brain and nervous system and brain cells to be able to handle higher awareness of the universe and how to understand it effortlessly. The human brain and body cannot understand such things. But you, the real being running that body, can. Imagine your feet, bare feet. See yourself as 36 years old, perfect, healthy body, no matter what condition you're on Earth. Flawlessly healthy, sinking your feet into emerald green sand on a beach somewhere. And the sand is glowing a foot above the sand with a glowing green light, and it's making you feel good. It's soothing. And you can see a tropical jungle with giant palm trees and huge prehistoric ferns. And this emerald beach is crescent-shaped, half-moon base-shaped. And you look behind you, see blue-green ocean water. And you look up the forest trees, and some birds come out of the trees that have long V-shaped split tails and rainbow-colored bodies, beautiful, big bulbous blue eyes. They look kind of like a blue jay. And they have twin sets of wings, one above the other, like a dragonfly, except these are bird wings, and they can hover in the air like a hummingbird. The genetic forms of these birds are higher form, and they are telepathic. They have photographic memories and beautiful singing voices. So you're going to hear dozens of them start to sing the hue in perfect harmony, male and female, till it sounds like one beautiful whole round tone. And then you see that when they do this, this luminous green beach lights up brighter. The green energy comes up your legs and up through the top of your head. This is a physical form made of energy that you're manifesting in this reality as I'm describing. You don't have to doubt or fear whether it's happening. Just see it. Don't be a dumpkin human being on Earth right now. That body's in the trance state called sleep. Safe, breathing, everything's fine. You have your energy feet in the green sand of another reality. And this grows up the top of your head and then out the top of your head, and you look up smiling and you see hovering above this projection of a physical form, a spherical being with a white core, with teardrop-shaped, self-effulgent, self-luminous layers that cover the spectrum from a white core to a yellow layer around it to kind of an orange layer, red, green, blue, lavender, violet. And there's a golden energy field around that. Each of these teardrops, hundreds of them that are in each layer, different colors, are higher faculties of being. Not a brain, not a body. Being. And this green light goes into the white core of your being and out into the green layer and turns on certain of these little teardrops that have not been on in any of you for ages. Then you look around you and you'll see a being 18 feet tall, standing in the ocean water up to his knees. He's got a tunic on. He looks like a Greek god, long blonde hair, big sky blue eyes, bigger than a human's, slightly pointed ears, and he's just giving us 2 thumbs up, meaning we're doing good here, we're doing the right thing. This is Ambassador Tyrrellian of the Sayres race. And he is here as kind of a guide and an escort on this journey. The Sayres immortalized their physical bodies over 1 billion years ago. This means they withdrew the matter that makes up the body into energy, stored it in an Atma, or an area in the Atma. And then when they need to create a physical body like he's doing now, he just works with the omnipresent you and manifests one. You can go up and touch it. And when he's done utilizing it, he dematerializes it and moves on about his business. There are other beings we'll meet on this trip who have immortalized their physical bodies so that they do not age. The Sayres have gone an evolutionary step further than that. They are a race who are responsible for bringing into creation upright walking beings, human, humanoid, grays, whites, reptilian, all kinds of races that were at one time all kind. They were not carnivorous. And then something changed in galactic history. The Sayres did this and brought these races up using patterns of their own DNA, which we have Sayres DNA in us. And then they vanished from this creation, this level of creation, for some time to see what we would do with it. They were simply making body forms, genetic experiments like human and others, capable of handling the higher faculties of knowing of the Atma when an Atma ran them. People on Earth have had certain genomes on their DNA shut down. This was done a long time ago and passed on genetically, so that people, when they get into a body on Earth, have a hard time making their higher faculties work right. Everybody knows it. Something's not right. This is reversible under the right conditions with the assistance of the right people. So now you imagine yourself this sphere hovering above this body with your feet in the green sand, and then you see this same sphere hovering above your body on Earth that's in the trance state, maybe up by the ceiling, kindly gazing down on your physical body. And you suddenly feel a pull, and you are out in the atmosphere above where you live at 5,000 feet, looking down on your city, right through the roof of where you live, and there's your body sitting in a chair or lying down. And then you find yourself in space above planet Earth. And there's Tyrrellian, an Atma that looks like you, a little brighter, a little more ancient and wiser. And there's numbers of people here, Gail and myself. You can see me hovering there beside Tyrrellian. And I project the physical body out in front of that Atma, that sphere. It looks like my body, about 36, perfectly healthy. You can see this of Gail, and then you can see several master teachers appear here that I know. But to introduce you to them, if you have not already met them, one is Master Ramu. He has a maroon-colored robe, short-cropped curly beard, and curly black hair, kind of coal-black eyes, and holding a crystal quartz staff that's glowing golden, the top of which is crowned with a cross with a vertical oval hole through an oval opening, like an ankh. In ancient Egyptian history, it meant eternal life, but that symbol did not originate in Egypt. It's a device. He carries this so people will recognize who he is. And on the other side is a master teacher named Opelum, who has pale blue skin and a beautiful gown on and slightly pointed ears, shiny black long hair, and emerald green eyes. And he's holding up his hand, and you can see little webs between them, because this human species that lives on a planet on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, in a third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe, is the leader of a race called Oceanian. Their world's mostly water covered. There's a few small islands on the equator, and then they have dome cities on those and down at the bottom of their oceans. They have the most developed crystalline-based science in our galaxy. They were the original founding sponsors, Opellum, of the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds that is centered near the galactic core of the Milky Way. So he is here to join us on this journey. When you look behind you, you'll see 100, about 100 men and women in physical forms in different dress, different skin tones, different eye colors, violet, green, blue, red, snake-like skin but not scaly, humanoid-like, some bald, some with long silver-looking hair, some with golden hair, red hair, different heights, pointed ears, some with longer earlobes, just different kinds of beings. They are from the Galactic Alliance. They've been invited to go on this journey with us. And you can see the Atmas, their real being, hovering above these energy forms that look like human beings, standing in a circle around us, around Tyrellian, in space, looking down on the planet Earth. When you look at space, to you, it doesn't appear black, like you've seen in pictures and photographs. It appears white, with a golden shimmering essence in it. It's between the Earth and the Moon that has its craters, between the Earth that has its polar ice caps, and the Sun. It's out in space between the billions of stars you see all around us. And we're looking down on Earth with its polar ice caps. From here, you can see the continental land masses you're familiar with, the beautiful oceans, but you don't see any barriers between countries, no fences, no buildings, no cars, no people, not from this high up in space. One planet, one atmosphere. The beings that are around you, this 100, begin to tell you telepathically that human beings, like them or like you, never evolved on planet Earth in the first place. They were imported to that world under different conditions going back 65 million years when the dinosaurs were made extinct. And then you'll feel an energy move through you, and you'll see that the Earth changes before your eyes, and you see a world in the same place as Earth, but it has no polar ice caps. And you can see the Moon in the same place as the Moon, slowly turning on its axis, which the Moon in our familiar world does not. And you can see air and oxygen and lakes and rivers and 5 dome cities on the front, covering 3 large golden pyramids with quartz caps. And then as the world turns on a mountainous area, you see a big dome city on the backside of this Moon. This Earth and this Moon are in a third, higher, parallel dimension of the physical universe. The molecules that make up this reality vibrate at a higher, faster time rate. You can tell when you look at this world that there has never been any negative nature, pollutants in the air, water, or land whatsoever. It is a protected environment. This Earth you're looking at never flipped its poles every 100,000 years like it does in the world you're familiar with, or it used to. On the surface, you'll see a continent stretching from the western hemisphere to the right hemisphere, covering half the world. One continent that extends up towards the North Pole, about a third of the way below it, and then tapers down to the right hemisphere and does the same down below, and curves and comes back up the other side about a third away from the southern pole. And you can see written in golden letters briefly that flash on the surface, Lemuria, or Mu. This continent has the same name as the Lemuria that was destroyed in the world you're familiar with 100,000 years ago, when the poles flipped overnight, wiping out the surface, the oceans, and the land masses, and changing them. You can see also right through the planet, and on the other side is another continent, 2/3 its size. It bears the name of Atma or Atlantis to this day, but it's not the one that was destroyed 100,000 years ago on the world you're familiar with. There, that continent was destroyed, sank in the ocean, new land masses rose up from the sea, and all but a volcanic island remained, which remained as new continents surfaced to form the ones we're familiar with today. And that volcanic continent, island, about 500 miles square, developed over 70,000 years to be the Atlantis that people know of on Earth in some circles. which was destroyed through the misuse of science 35,000 years ago. This is a place, if you look down at the southern edge, below the equator of this continent, you see a glowing emerald green beach. And now suddenly you see your feet still in the green sands of that beach where we started this journey. So you see you've actually put your energetic feet of a human form of energy into those sands. And now you're seeing where it's located. It is located on Earth, but in a higher frequency, a parallel dimension, vibrating at a higher molecular time rate. You're going to suddenly find yourself hovering above that emerald green sand as a spherical being with Terrellian and myself and Gail and others, 100 other beings in a circle around us. And we're going to move over the top of the jungle, following a brown, 3-foot wide, moss-covered path. Leads straight as an arrow back through these tall jungle trees to a clearing that has a circular white marble floor, maybe 100, 150 feet across. And the path continues on the other side of this white marble floor and winds its way up a mountainside and comes to stop at a domed city, huge dome, clear, covering 3 gold-sided pyramids with quartz caps, fields and lakes and little dome dwellings. And as you look up the mountainside, you can see there's one single snow-covered, glacier-covered mountain peak inland. And it's 2/3 of the way up toward the summit, there is a waterfall pouring out of a cave, dropping thousands of feet. It has a luminous blue-green water. There's a mineral in it that actually glows. It's dropping thousands of feet to a valley floor behind the dome city at a higher plateau, where it becomes a river winding its way between blue-green forest trees. That river winds its way down the mountainside and comes by on the far side of this white marble floor with this brown path connecting to it from each side. And there is tall 4-foot-high lavender grass fields surrounding it. And beyond that are tall, look like weeping willow trees, lining the bank of a slowly moving, wide blue-green river. That goes to the ocean and empties into the sea. When you look down this brown path from this white marble floor, this circular floor, you can see a green beach glowing a foot above the sand. This is where you just were. It's about a mile away. In the middle of this white marble floor is the statue of a woman standing on a square blue stone laced with gold, polished smooth, kind of a platform or pedestal. She's 10 feet tall in bare feet with an elegant gown, and her hands are out to the sides of her head, up like this, glowing with a green light. And you can see that that green light from her hands is lighting up that beach. It was a gift to give to people on this journey to help them remember. The green is for remembering and recall. Now, this 10-foot tall woman has a longer neck and longer fingers and legs than people on Earth, but she's human and very elegant and beautiful. Slightly pointed ears, ivory skin like a moonstone, and long silver hair. This statue is made of pure quartz, carved perfectly. And inside the surface of the statue of the quartz, you can see through it, and you can see there's a woman, the actual woman the statue represents, standing somewhere in an interdimensional portal of green energy inside this crystal statue. And you can see that she has long silver hair, it looks like polished silver metal, but you can reach out with the feelings of the Atma and touch it, and it's soft. She has beautiful violet colored eyes, slightly pointed ears, not like drastic, just slightly more than people on Earth. And she's smiling at you, and you can see around her forehead a golden thin band. Set in the middle of her band, right where her third eye or forehead, between her eyebrows, is a large emerald teardrop-shaped faceted crystal. And it's glowing with this green light, and you're drawn to it. You look into it and find yourself suddenly inside this interdimensional doorway, that this statue is a device. This is on the continent of Lemuria, on the southern beach. We saw it from space, and now we are all of us hovering in a circle around this woman with a physical form made of energy, looks like you, about 36, standing in this atmosphere with her. And she is telling you she is from a planet called Zientranomon 1, which exists on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, and that her husband, who now appears standing beside her, a little taller, looks like her with long silver hair. And she tells you that the body forms you're seeing are over 3.5 million years old. They look to be about maybe 40, 36 to 40, something, but ageless, poised and dignified, wise, serene. And they're telling you they are from a Zientronomus race that originally came to the Milky Way from a galaxy 5 galaxies away and split off from a race called Dos Ventanas. They are in direct co-creative harmony with that race, and they are on Earth. Well, they're on this Earth, hovering in this void, to show you who they are as one of many races that inhabit the Milky Way. They are not like people on Earth. They do not age. They have mastery over genetic science. They are not suffering from any illusion that they are bodies. When you look above their heads, guess what? There's the Atma hovering there, the real them. And then they show you a planet appear in this green mist, this vibrant green energy. It's 4 times bigger than Earth, covered with little land masses and water all over it, little oceans, no polar ice caps, and domed cities in at least 12 locations you can see, evenly spaced on the planet's surface. You can see 3 moons the size of Earth at different distances circling this big planet. And they have no polar ice caps. Different colored land and domed cities on each of them, vibrantly alive. In the distance, you can see the representations of 3 suns. These planets circle around. They circle around the main planet of Zientranomon 1, and it circles around their suns. There are 3. One is a blue-white giant. One is yellow, like our sun. And one further away is a red dwarf, kind of a reddish color. It's a trinary system. Then you find yourself in your bare feet, hovering above a body form that looks like you, walking along a violet-colored sandy pathway along a glowing kind of an emerald-colored water stream or river. And there's beautiful landscaping all around you with exotic flowers. And in the distance, you can see a huge dome covering 3 golden-sided pyramids with quartz crowns and big mesas like you'd find in Sedona, Arizona, to each side of it. Blue-green forest trees all along the riverbank. And when you look up in this atmosphere during the day, you can see all 3 planets circling this big sphere. One of them has rings around it, land masses all over its surface and water, no polar ice caps. And that's 2 people are approaching you on this lavender-colored dirt path. It's a mineral in the dirt. And they are the tall, 10-foot high Zientranomon couple that are the leaders of this main planet and hundreds of millions of others that take up a little more than half of the Milky Way galaxy. They have never involved in war with tyrant races. That has existed in the other half, the Galactic Alliance is. Earth is also situated on that other half. The Galactic Alliance people and the Zientranomos people have recently joined collaboratively together and harmoniously, which means that the Milky Way is now run by vast numbers of predominantly benevolent, highly evolved beings. And the few tyrant racers are not only cornered, they're undergoing a transformation to remove their tyrant nature. And these two couples come up to all of us on this trip, including 100 other beings circling around us, floating there from the Galactic Alliance. And they tell you that the bodies you're seeing here on this planet are over 3.5 million years old, unaged. This is one form of immortalization of a physical genetic form. But you can see the real beings hovering above these forms. They chose these because they're the ones they like most in eternity. And they keep this form to keep a constant presence for being leaders of their worlds to their people. They mastered genetic DNA science long ago. They do not have microscopic life on this planet that can attack a human form. They got rid of that as old, antiquated beginnings of the evolution of life that are no longer necessary. So you see, these beings have the science and technology to transform the earth, but they are not tyrants. And they're also telling you that the only way to have an immortalized body is to know full well who and what you are that's hovering above it. Otherwise, that would be a trap for the real being, the Atma or soul. Then you find yourself hovering in this great atmosphere again, in front of this couple who are pointing to the world and moons and suns you can see there. And you're back on this higher parallel dimension Earth. And you find yourself standing outside of this statue of this woman with 100 other beings around us in Tyrellian, hovering above this white marble floor. You look into the distance up the mountainside and suddenly find yourself hovering around Tyrellian, high above the dome city situated on a higher plateau below this one snow-capped mountain. And then you find yourself suddenly walking on a little white marble path, and hundreds of them that wind throughout a countryside around a lake, and little ivory-colored dome dwellings. And in the distance, 3 golden-sided, quartz-capped pyramids. These are devices. There are science laboratories down in between them and in the city in the distance, and a little half mountain range with waterfalls running down it for aesthetic effect in the back side, half the circumference of this dome, which is miles across. You can see 3 blue stone circular landing pads facing towards the west, towards the ocean and the brown path. And there are scout ships 30 feet across with blue-gray metal, 3 semi-spheric pods on the bottom, landed there with 3 tripod legs. Inside on this pathway, you'll see a being approach you, and he's there with a key scientist from this city. This is Opellum. He holds up his hands, you see little webs, and he's telling you, when he holds up his neck, you can see 3 little slits under his neck. This is a human species. You could actually mate with them. People from Earth could, though the vibration's not high enough for that, but at this time. But you look at him, and he's showing you that their race developed on a mostly water-covered planet to be able to breathe underwater or on land. Handsome, about 40-looking man, shiny black hair, emerald green eyes, slightly pointed ears. And this scientist, who looks like him a little shorter, is just sharing with you about the advanced state of their crystalline-based science. They have ships of a type that get around between dimensions, parallel dimensions, and you're going to see one hovering in a field, above a field by a lake in this, under the center of the dome. And it has a cobalt blue sphere, and then triangular elongated pyramid sections coming off it in all directions of different colors of the spectrum of light. And they're all pulsing, glowing. This is the Spectrum ship of the Oceanians, rarely seen, more advanced than anything in the Galactic Alliance. And so their technology is shared when people can handle it. The Oceanians are responsible for sharing anti-gravity technology with races over millions of years. And as I mentioned before, Opellum was the founding sponsor of the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, a very, very ancient, long time ago, which means this body he's wearing is millions of years old. Very ancient. And you can see the Atma hovering above his head, and the scientist, his name is Dom. When you look above, you can see Tyrellian, and he's standing in the atmosphere 18 feet tall, because that's how tall they were as human beings. We get our genomes from them. Down inside a ivory white colored elongated dome building at the base of the pyramids is a scientific laboratory, and you're going to find yourself suddenly hovering inside it. It's bigger than, say, a soccer stadium, and inside it you're going to see different compartments and different crystal structures glowing above tables, and semi-spherical control consoles with different kinds of faceted gems lit up that are touch sensitive. And Dom is explaining that this is some of the greater science in our Milky Way galaxy, and that we could comprehend its use under the right conditions when we remember enough of who we are. Some of you may have even gone through a life living in Oceania in ancient, ancient times. These beings might seem familiar to some of you. Then you find yourself above the planet, looking down on this continent of Lemuria, on an Earth in a higher parallel dimension at a higher molecular time rate that never flips its poles. The beings that work in that dome city from the Galactic Alliance, master teachers from the multidimensional universe, have always, including the Serays, Tyrellian's people, have protected this place. It's been here for ages, and they can come back and forth from our world to this parallel dimension whenever they wish to carry out work. Nowadays, they have a new tool, the new ray, within the omnipresent living energy supporting all life, that's designed to retire evil as an experiment and replace it with that which motivates people to create only that which is of an uplifting, beneficial nature to all life. So they're stepping things up. They have a base at that mountain. If you see that snow-capped mountain above the dome city, looking right through the dome, you can see it, the waterfall. There's a cave opening. It's half spherical, above the water opening for the waterfall, with little dome lights lining the interior. It goes into the interior of the mountain. And we're going to all go up above this dome city. You're going to find yourself instantly hovering up there. And then myself, I'm going to enter this cavern opening first, followed by Tyrellian, and then all of you, followed by 100 of the Galactic Alliance personnel. And we're going to be coming straight into the mountain with these dome lights over this smooth, carved out cavern opening. And as we go deeper into it, it begins to wind downward in a gentle curve. And it comes out an opening inside a vast chamber, which is carved out of the inside of Mount Shasta in Northern California. It is an extinct volcanic mountain range. Not a mountain range, but a mountain with snow-crowned glaciers on it still. And inside the top of this dome, which is spherical, semi-spherical, are these two circular opening doors that open to space in the volcanic caldera. You would not be able to see them from an airplane or from a satellite, because this particular base is built inside the mountain at a slightly higher parallel dimension to keep it safe and its personnel safe from outsiders. It was built there in 1908. You will see a being walk up to you now who's human, slightly better human eyes than those on Earth with blonde hair, and his mate with a brunette hair, and they introduce themselves as people who oversee things in this base from among several other couples. And they point around, you can see a blue lapis lazuli floor, this is stone laced with gold, and then all around the circumference you have little pockets of these giant crystals, emeralds and others that they left there when they dug out this mountain. They're many hundreds of millions of years old for aesthetic appeal. And then in the distance, you can see 2 rows of parked scout craft 30 feet across with blue-gray metal. There's 3 semiferric pods under the bottom. And then a long rectangular building with octagon-shaped windows on 5 levels. And you can see beings from different races working right through the clear glass-like windows and working on these different levels. Now, this particular place is built in the first parallel dimension above the physical reality you know of as Earth. And it can move from this to the third one, where the Dome City is in the Lemurian continent. And they can travel in ships or individually as beings through that tunnel and go through an energy change as they cross through it, from one to the other. Their molecular time rate is raised up a little or lowered. This is advanced technology that does this. Then you're going to find yourself suddenly in space with Torellian and myself and others, Gail, and 100 other people who have been brought on this journey as visitors from the Galactic Alliance. And then you're going to see that you can see the Earth you're familiar with, the polar ice caps, the crater moon. And then you're going to find yourself hovering above your body in the atmosphere where you live on planet Earth. And then you're going to find yourself hovering as a sphere of energy, looking kindly down on that body, sitting in a chair or lying down. And you're going to transfer the awareness of this journey carefully through a white light with a golden essence right into the brain through the pineal gland, lighting up certain brain cells, raising your IQ, and letting this energy pass through you, out through your aura, out into the world, so that it benefits you like a flowing river and then goes on its way to benefit others. There's never any reason to turn this off or slow it down. It knows how to keep you balanced while it's doing this. And then when you're ready, open your eyes.
That was a beautiful journey.
Getting a bit of a hum. Okay. Yeah, and next time, maybe we'll go to the higher worlds. I got a nudge not to do it this time, but if we do it, we'll be going to a place that exists beyond the void known to most Buddhist monks and most esoteric groups that know about the void. It's beyond that.
That's a plan.
Okay. I want to get people who want to go on these journeys first grounded with imagining and understanding and being comfortable with getting out of their body and going to other realities, other dimensions, physical dimensions in the physical plane, before we start going into realities far above the 4 lower dimensions. Because we want to be able to bring back the awareness of these journeys into this physical form and brain that never had them. It has to be tweaked a little bit, adjusted by this omnipresent living hue, the new ray in it, so that the brain and body you grew up with can, and this is for everyone listening, can begin to handle and be balanced in their life in this world. In fact, it will help you become more balanced in this life.
Wonderful.
When you're waking up and getting everything able to handle these higher realities. It takes a little reconditioning of the brain and body you have to accept what you have never trained to accept growing up here. Now, the Atma, you can bring this information back to the body and enlighten it. That's what we're doing.
That's awesome, Scott. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I want to wish all of you great dreams during the day, because this is a dream. When you're in the body here, you, the Atma, is running other bodies in other places, specifically higher dimensions. But this is a dream for the Atma to live consciously in the low state on Earth for 8 hours or whatever, or 12 hours, or whatever it is, and then you put the body to sleep, and then you go back to more natural territory. Let's put it that way. So I wish everybody great goodwill and a change in consciousness for the future. I love this because this is the way the beings I know, when they greet us, they always do this. You know, it's not this. You know, and it's not like, like a warrior. It's just this.
Thank you.
I'll see you later, Gail.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. Until next time.
Till next time. Bye.
I'm a stranger on a lost island, somewhere in the universe. Stranger on a lost island, on this island Earth. I'm a stranger on a lost island, somewhere in the universe. Stranger on a lost island, on this island Earth. I was just a little boy, I was different from my friends. Looking up in the stars at night, I'd feel homesick loneliness. I'd share a vision of a faraway planet where I once was given birth. Then reminisce of past civilizations no history reveals about Earth. Wide-eyed in fear, my friends stared at me, too confused to understand. They walked away in haste to spurn me like I was quicksand. Now I'm a stranger on a lost island, somewhere in the universe. Stranger on a lost island, on this island